It was a bit of a chunk, but I've just gleaned the issue with the risk profile is an education thing, and knowing that I should have a property manager who can sort that stuff out. Are you saying, John, if someone was to buy their first property interstate or not in the same area, do not self-manage it straight up, categorically?
Well, categorically, I say don't self-manage anyway. I just think it's you're running a business, but you don't need to be the CEO, the director, and the person on the ground. So I just would always outsource it, even if it's next door, because you've always then got a conduit between you and the tenant. But yeah, the recruitment, and I've said it many a time, but I think a bad tenant is due to me choosing a bad property manager.
Right. Do you self-manage any of your properties, Rach?
I wouldn't ever consider self-managing any property ever.
But that's, again, the psychology. Some people, just for the life of them, don't want to spend the money to outsource that.
Which is tax deductible.
And also, there can be other implications. So even insuring a property that is self-managed can be more difficult. There's other things that can come up if you're self-managing. But also, imagine self-managing to save a few dollars and you had to go to tribunal. Now, if you go to tribunal because a tenant does something wrong, if you don't have everything, all that paperwork in order, you're thrown out. Everything's on the tenant side unless that – I would not trust myself, and I'm pretty good with paperwork, to have everything right. I don't do that every day. I want someone who does that every day representing me in tribunal.
Totally.
I think as well, like the more I talk about property buying and first homes for people, and this is why I kind of wanted to join the two together, anyone that I know who says, should I buy a property to live in, it's too affordable, I just think in this climate, you've got to buy – if you want to get on the property ladder – buy somewhere else and just keep renting. Like, it's as simple as that. And
well, I think
unless you said the magic trifecta, you do live in that area that is good.
And we don't want to think, well, okay, everyone lives in Sydney or Melbourne listening in. So I think if we're living in regional Victoria or regional WA or Northern Territory or anywhere around the country where it is realistic and affordable for someone to get their own home and live in and still treat it with an investor mindset, that's the win-win. Like
if you're fast forward 3 years, Max wants to buy his first investment property, he ain't buying in Toowoomba Bay.
No, well, not with my money, nor his.
But I just think in terms of that mindset, don't be shy to get the property manager. So for me, my property manager, it's more of an accounting thing. Any bills for the property, so the council rates get sent straight to the property manager. My Terry Shear will like this one. My Terry Shear insurance renewals get forwarded directly to the property manager. They pay this out of the trust account before they disperse the money to me. And then at the end of the financial year, I get the 1-page, 2-page statement. This is the property. Income less expenses equal net income for the property.
Yeah. The only thing that's left out of there generally is your interest on the loan.
That's right.
But back to Rachel's point about the risks associated with self-managing is when you're going through your Terry Shear quote online, you're going to come across a question that says, do you have a property manager? Now, they don't put that question in there because they just would like to know.
Data collection for fun.
They're doing that for the excess, the policy, the premium, a whole range of things.
So there's less risk involved.
Less risk involved when there's a property manager. So, I think we've got to take all that into account as well as the stress of, well, I've got to do what I'm good at, not what I'm trying to do to save a few bucks.
Ashley said maybe something on buying established versus building, particularly with the different schemes available for the two. So we can actually, we bought a fixer-upper and the cost of the building works you don't think about can become very expensive. So again, whether you're, and this is location dependent, right? That example where that person, she messaged me, oh, should I buy this? And drops me a link to a a real estate ad, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go, right, yes or no.
Sounds like another bloke that does that same
yeah,
thing
but
to
I'm
me.
different. I deserve that from you, John. Should I buy this or not? Well, when we look at the fixer-upper or buying new and the shoe fits within an hour of your life, I don't know, maybe it is worth, if you want to do the sacrifice, buying Cessnock, live in it, fix it up, and then piss it off, make a profit. So it is circumstantial. John, any thoughts? I'll ask you about the investment hat. Do you have many clients buying house and land packages as an investment property?
No.
Why?
Why? I think definitely post-COVID,
Oh, because of the prices.
cost to build, timeframes, unknowns, people spooked, building companies going under. It hasn't been the flavour.
Too much risk as well.
Yeah, the risk associated. So, I think generally speaking, it would be existing. But during COVID, I think was the sweet spot for building grants, like national and state grants. There was, I think, a regional grant as well as in Victoria at one stage there. You had all these grants to build, and I think this will come back around. Labor are talking about it. The incentive again to build your own home. But where people go wrong is the variables that they don't take into account when buying and building in an area that's not yet planned out. They don't know who's in the street. They don't know how many houses they're going to build. They don't know the supply versus demand in that area, what it's going to look like. People have comfort in an existing home where it's 50 years old, the area. They know who's in the street. They can drive down it.
What's your view, Rach?
Yeah, and I would say pre-COVID, there was definitely a lot more investors of ours building on doing house and land packages. It has definitely lessened with the unknowns, the uncertainties. I think that will turn around. But if you were buying, what there is still a lot of is those clients that are trying to get those incentives, and Queensland's a great example. You've got that extra, grant coming in for new homes. I think a lot of people do buy to live in for a period of time, get all those incentives, and then move back to the city.
Yes.
And
wherever that is.
And that is totally fine if the shoe fits. And if you do have, let's plan it out. Here's what the next 3 or 4 years might look like. We're going to build a house and land package. We're going to live in it for 2 years, 18 months. We're going to do that. We're going to do some remote work from home, all that stuff. Then a couple of years later, we did an episode, both of you did an episode on the This Is Property podcast, and you shared a case study where someone did that it was out of Brisbane. They bought the house and land package.
Yes.
And one thing I wanted to add was that in terms of to keep under the caps for the first home buyer and the stamp duty, they had to carve off, I think, the driveway and the fences from that contract price to get it and then swing back around and do that. So I'm a big fan of doing whatever you need to as long as the shoe fits your unique situation. That's why we can't rule anything in or out.
No.
And for that particular client,
They ended up moving to Melbourne after.
They did.
Yeah.
There was always going to be an investment, but they could not get in the market without it. They did not have the money or any other means to get into the market unless they could get all those incentives. So you do what you have to do to get in, and if that's driving an hour to work every day, well, that's what you have to do for a period of time.
Do you want to sacrifice enough for your goal?
Yeah.
Like you said you ran 40 kilometres the other day.
Yeah.
48 for 48.
Oh, crazy.
I had to...
You had to sacrifice to get to that level.
I did. It was pouring rain. And, two clients, partners, and they were both medical professionals, both moved out of Melbourne, COVID, bought a house and land each, lived in it for 12 months, got saved on stamp duty, 25 grand, 500 grand property, like house and land package, saved 20 grand national grant, a 10 grand regional grant, no LMI, being medical professionals, and then moved back to Melbourne 12 months later. They got two assets that have gone up another 10% in that time. Like that's a sacrifice for like now the shoe doesn't always fit. It's not always that product. It's not always that time. It's not always doesn't always work for someone. But I think the key message is you do what needs to be done that's going to work for you.
And they thought outside the square. They got all the information and then they made an informed decision.
That's right.
And took action.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.